Leave my house this instant and never come back.
We have to go now.
You came back for me?
She was the one who saved your life twice. She was the one who saved your life twice.
In the rich hills of Abuja, where mansions stood like palaces and gates opened only for the powerful, a young woman named Amara arrived with a small, faded bag and a heart full of prayers. She had traveled all night from her village in Enugu after hearing there was work in the city. Her sandals were dusty, her dress was simple, her eyes were tired, but her spirit was not broken. The security man at the huge black gate looked at her and laughed. "Are you sure you came to the right place?" he asked. "This is Chief DK's family estate, not a charity home." Amara lowered her eyes respectfully. "I came because I was told they need a housemaid, sir. I can work hard. I can cook, clean, and care for people." The man shook his head. "Girls like you come here every week thinking the rich will pity you. Most of you don't last a day." "I only need a chance," Amara said quietly. After staring at her for a moment, he sighed and opened the gate. "Go in. Madam is waiting. But don't say I didn't warn you." Amara stepped into the grand compound and felt like she had entered another world. The flowers were arranged in perfect lines. The cars shone like mirrors. The floors inside the mansion looked too polished to touch. In the main living room sat Madame Ifeoma Dike, a proud widow with sharp eyes and a cold voice. Beside her sat her daughter Vanessa, dressed in expensive silk and wearing the expression of someone who believed poverty was a disease. Not far from them was Neka, a wealthy family friend who had one dream: to marry Madame Ifeoma's only son, Kene Dike, a billionaire businessman. Madame Ifeoma looked Amara up and down. "So this is the new maid?" "Yes, madam," the house steward answered. Vanessa scoffed. "She looks like she came straight from a cassava farm." Neka laughed softly. "At least she will understand dirty work." Amara kept her head bowed. Madame Ifeoma spoke again. "Listen carefully. No housemaid has stayed here longer than a month. My son hates noise, mistakes, and foolishness. If he complains about you even once, you will be thrown out. Do you understand?" "Yes, madam," Amara replied. "Good. Take her upstairs. Show her the servants' room. Then put her to work." Amara was led down a narrow corridor to a tiny room near the back of the house. It had a small bed, one window, and a bucket in the corner. It was humble, but to her, it was shelter. She whispered a prayer. "God, please help me stay." What nobody told Amara was that the man of the house, Kene Dike, had not been the same for years. Once known as a brilliant young billionaire with a generous smile, Kene had changed after a terrible betrayal. The woman he planned to marry had stolen company secrets, emptied joint accounts, and disappeared with another man. Since then, Kene had locked himself behind anger, silence, and suspicion. He trusted no woman. He rarely smiled. He barely ate with his family. At night, he suffered violent nightmares that echoed through the mansion. Doctors had come. Therapists had come. Pastors had come. Nothing changed him. Amara's first day in the mansion felt like a war. Vanessa ordered her to scrub the staircase twice because she claimed it still looked dull. Neka deliberately spilled juice on the rug and blamed Amara for not moving fast enough. Madame Ifeoma inspected every corner with the eye of a soldier. "Do it again. Wash it properly. Can't you think? Must I teach you everything?" Amara answered every insult with the same words. "Yes, madam. Sorry, madam." I will do better, madam. Late that night, after everyone had gone to bed, Amara was in the kitchen washing the last dishes when she heard a crash upstairs. Then a shout. Then another. A deep male voice roared in pain. "Leave me alone!" Amara froze. The steward ran past her. "Don't go there!" But the shouting grew worse. "Get out of my head! Stop it! Stop it!" Madame Ifeoma and Vanessa rushed toward the upstairs corridor in panic. A locked bedroom door trembled under the force of someone throwing things inside. "My son!" Madame Ifeoma cried. "Kene, open the door!" Another crash. Glass shattered. Vanessa began to shake. "He's having another episode." The servants backed away in fear. Then Amara stepped forward. "Madam, may I try?" Everyone turned to her in disbelief. "You?" Vanessa snapped. "Are you mad?" But before anyone could stop her, Amara walked to the door and placed her burned, tired hands against it. Her voice was soft, almost like a lullaby. "Kene, please rest. No one here wants to hurt you. Let your heart be still. Morning will come." Inside the room, the noise slowed. Amara continued, her tone warm and calm. "Sleep. The night cannot fight you forever. Sleep." Seconds passed. Then silence. The whole hallway stood still. Madame Ifeoma stared at the door in shock. For the first time in years, Kene's episode ended without broken furniture, torn skin, or sedatives. The next morning, something even stranger happened. Kene came downstairs for breakfast. Madame Ifeoma almost dropped her cup. Vanessa blinked in disbelief. Neka forced a smile. Kene sat at the table like a man returning from exile. His face remained serious, but he was calmer than usual. As Amara quietly placed tea beside him, he glanced at her for one brief second. "Thank you," he said. It was a simple sentence, but in that house, it landed like thunder. From that day, the atmosphere changed. Not for Amara's comfort, for her danger. Vanessa noticed the way Kene no longer looked completely lost whenever Amara was nearby. Neka noticed that he asked fewer angry questions when Amara served him. Madame Ifeoma noticed that the house felt more peaceful since the village girl arrived. And instead of being grateful, they became afraid. One afternoon, while Amara was hanging clothes outside, Neka entered Madame Ifeoma's room with a cruel idea. She opened the jewelry box, removed a gold bracelet covered in diamonds, and slipped out with it. A few minutes later, she quietly pushed it under Amara's mattress. Then she screamed, "My bracelet! My bracelet is gone!" The house erupted. Madame Ifeoma stormed into the living room. "Who entered my room?" Vanessa folded her arms. "Who else? The new maid cleans there every day." Amara was summoned immediately. "Did you steal from this house?" Madame Ifeoma demanded. "No, madam, never." "Search her room," Vanessa said coldly. The servants rushed in. Seconds later, one of them returned holding the bracelet. "Madam, we found it." Amara's face turned white. "No, I didn't take it. I swear I didn't." "Liar!" Vanessa shouted. Neka stepped forward dramatically. "I knew she was pretending to be innocent. Poor girls like this always come with hidden plans." Madame Ifeoma slapped Amara across the face. "After everything we gave you?" Tears filled Amara's eyes. but she did not fight back. "I did not steal it, madam." "Throw her out," Vanessa ordered. Just then, Kene walked in. The room fell silent. "What is going on?" he asked. Madame Ifeoma rushed to him. "This thief stole from us. We found the bracelet in her room." Kene looked at Amara. Her cheek was red. Her hands trembled. "Did you take it?" he asked. "No, sir." There was something in her voice. Fear, yes, but also truth. Kene turned to the steward. "Bring my laptop." Madame Ifeoma frowned. "For what?" "We installed hallway cameras and room entry sensors last month," Kene said. "If she stole it, we will see it." Vanessa panicked for a second, but Nneka kept a brave face. The footage rolled. They watched Amara enter the room earlier to clean. Then they watched her leave. Then, minutes later, they watched Nneka slip inside alone. The living room became so quiet that even breathing sounded loud. Madame Ifeoma stood frozen. Vanessa slowly turned toward Nneka. Kene's eyes darkened. "Explain." Nneka burst into tears. "I was jealous. I was afraid she would take you away from me. I'm sorry. I made a mistake." "A mistake?" Kene's voice hardened. "You wanted to destroy an innocent person." Amara lowered her head. To everyone's surprise, she said softly, "I have forgiven her." Kene stared at her as if he had never seen someone like her before. From that day, his attention toward Amara grew, not in loud gestures, but in quiet observation. He noticed how she fed a hungry child at the gate using her own lunch. He noticed how she fixed broken flowers instead of replacing them. He noticed how she thanked even the lowest servant. He noticed how she sang while working, the same calm tune that eased his nightmares. One evening, as rain clouds gathered over the city, a small, injured puppy wandered near the front gate. The guards tried to chase it away, but Amara ran to stop them. "It's wounded," she said. She wrapped the trembling animal in her shawl and cleaned its leg with warm water. Kene was on the upstairs balcony when he saw her. For the first time in years, he smiled. A real smile. The maids whispered about it all night. When the news reached Madame Ifeoma, fear settled deeper in her heart. "What power does this girl have?" she muttered. Vanessa had her own fear. If Kene chose Amara, every woman from their social class would laugh at them. So she made a phone call. To a man named Blade, known in the city for doing dirty jobs for money. "I need you to scare someone," Vanessa said. "How much?" 1 million naira. "Who is the target?" "My brother." Blade paused. Scare or finish? Vanessa looked toward the staircase, her face cold. "Make it look like an accident." The next morning, Kene left the mansion for an important investors' meeting. As his driver moved through the estate road, the brake system suddenly failed. The car swerved. The driver screamed. Kene grabbed the dashboard. Then the vehicle crashed into a concrete barrier and burst into flames. People began shouting. Guards ran in all directions, but no one moved close enough to the fire. No one except Amara. Without thinking, she rushed forward, ignoring the heat that pushed everyone else back. She grabbed the back door handle, burning her palms instantly. It would not open. "Kene!" she cried. Inside the smoke, he heard her voice. Amara found a stone, smashed the window, and reached in. The flames licked her arms. The guards shouted at her to stop, but she pulled and pulled until Kene's body slid free. Seconds after they fell to the ground, the car exploded again. The whole estate shook. At the hospital, the family gathered in terror. Madame Ifeoma wept. Vanessa pretended to cry. Nneka, now banned from the house, watched the news from a distance with regret and bitterness. The doctor finally came out. "He is stable," he said. "If he had remained in that vehicle half a minute longer, he would not have survived." Madame Ifeoma folded her hands in gratitude. "Thank God! Who saved him?" Vanessa immediately stepped forward. We all rushed there. But one of the security men interrupted. "It was the maid, madam. Amara dragged him out." Madame Ifeoma's face changed. Vanessa's chest tightened. Inside the hospital room, Kene woke hours later with pain in his ribs and smoke still heavy in his memory. "The girl," he whispered. "Where is the girl who called my name?" A nurse nearby answered, "She's outside, sir. She refused treatment until the doctors finished with you. Bring her." When Amara entered, both her hands were bandaged. Kene stared at them. "You burned yourself? Because of me?" Amara tried to smile. "You are my employer, sir." "No," Kene said quietly. "That is not why." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Kene looked away and said something he had not said to any woman in years. "Thank you." Amara's eyes became wet. Before she could answer, Madame Ifeoma entered. The sight of her son looking at Amara with warmth unsettled her more than the accident itself. Later that night, Kene ordered a private investigation into the crash. Within 48 hours, the truth came out. The brakes had been tampered with. Phone records led to Blade. Blade led to Vanessa. When Kene confronted his sister, the mansion shook with shouting. "You tried to kill me?" he asked. Vanessa fell to her knees. "I only wanted to stop her. Everything changed when that girl came. You started healing. You started smiling. And I knew if you married a maid, people would mock us forever." Kene looked at her with heartbreak, not rage. "You cared more about pride than my life." Madame Ifeoma could not speak. The family scandal was buried quietly to protect the DK name, but Vanessa was sent away from the estate. Kene cut off her access to company accounts and properties. For the first time, he chose justice over family reputation. After that, the mansion became quieter, safer, and softer. Weeks passed. Kene recovered. Amara's hands healed slowly. Their conversations grew longer. He learned she had once wanted to become a teacher but left school when her father died and debts swallowed the family. She learned he had built his empire young, but success brought him more fear than peace. One evening, under the orange glow of sunset, Kene found Amara in the garden watering flowers. "Why are you always kind?" he asked. "Even after people hurt you?" Amara smiled sadly. "Because if I allow pain to change me, then the people who hurt me win twice." Kene looked at her as though her words had entered the deepest locked room in his heart. And perhaps they had. Soon, the city began to talk. The billionaire was spending time with his maid. His mother heard the whispers from church friends. Business partners heard them from society wives. Madame Ifeoma tried to resist, but the truth had become impossible to ignore. Her son was alive because of Amara. Her home had peace because of Amara. And the coldness in Kene's heart had melted because of Amara. Still, one final storm remained. Nneka returned, not with tears this time, with vengeance. She confronted Amara at the estate gate. "You think love can carry you into our world?" she hissed. "Men like Kene only pity girls like you." Amara answered calmly. "Then let him decide with his own heart." Nneka raised her hand to strike her, but Kene appeared behind them. "Touch her," he said, "and you will regret it." Nneka turned in shock. Kene stepped beside Amara, not behind her, not above her, beside her. "I spent years surrounded by beautiful lies," he said, "and the one person who gave me truth came in simple clothes with wounded hands." Nneka's face crumpled. Madame Ifeoma, who had witnessed everything from the doorway, finally walked forward. She looked at Amara for a long moment. Then, to everyone's shock, she folded her hands. "Forgive me," she said. "I judged your poverty and nearly destroyed the blessing God sent into this house." Tears slid down Amara's cheeks. "I forgave you long ago, madam." Months later, the same mansion that once mocked her hosted a celebration unlike any in its history. Lights filled the compound. Music floated through the air. The staff smiled openly. And at the center of it all stood Amara, no longer the insulted village girl at the gate, but a woman dressed with dignity, grace, and quiet strength. Kene held her hand before family, workers, and guests. "I searched among the rich and found performance," he said. "I found status, ambition, and masks. But in the heart of a woman the world called ordinary, I found loyalty, courage, peace, and love." He turned to her. "Amara, you saved my life twice, once from fire and once from the darkness inside me. Will you marry me?" Amara covered her mouth as tears fell. "Yes," she whispered. Then stronger. "Yes, I will." Applause filled the night. Even Madame Ifeoma cried. And as the celebration continued under the African sky, the servants remembered the day Amara first arrived with dusty sandals and a tired face. They remembered the insults. They remembered the accusations. They remembered the fire. And they understood something powerful. Sometimes the person a rich house calls worthless is the very soul sent to save it. So when life humiliates the humble and crowns the proud, do not be deceived, because destiny has a way of turning the rejected into the honored. And love, true love, does not ask where you came from. It only asks who you are when everyone else turns against you. The end.